Excuse me, I have some things I'd like to say.
Sorry, but that felt like the only fitting way to start this review. I have a love-hate relationship with Pixar, and by Pixar I mean recent Pixar. Pixar was obviously in their bag in the early 2000s, nothing but straight banger. A studio hungry to make a name for itself, and it really showed through their work. They told memorable stories with dynamic characters and sharp writing, but most of all their movies just felt big. Like, I feel like there's not many movies even released today that achieve the sense of scale and adventure a film like Finding Nemo has. I mean, it helps that the filmmakers had the whole ocean as their playground, but it truly feels grand and epic. Same with The Incredibles and WALL-E, the stories feel big and the conflicts are of epic proportion. But in contrast today, a lot of recent Pixar movies feel small. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing, but the studio has lost some of its cinematic appeal because of it. Cinematic appeal as in people's will to actually show up to a theater and pay money to watch a movie. And if it's been an issue for the live action industry, it has especially been a problem for the animation industry. Because oftentimes, these days, if it's not a sequel or reboot, apparently why the heck would you be going to a movie theater? I remember being frustrated last year and seeing just how many sequels and reboots were being released. I mean, now I've totally accepted this is the inevitable fate of Hollywood, but there are plenty of people who still want to see original movies, at least according to social media. You just have to A, first and foremost, have an actual good movie, and B, actually promote it. I could honestly make a whole separate video about the failings of the industry when it comes to promoting movies well, and why a lot of media today struggles to find an audience because of it, but again, that's for another video. What I will say for this video is that something has got to change marketing wise, because a lot of great movies will continue to bomb and further reinforce to Hollywood that original ideas are monetary suicide. Also, we can probably blame streaming services. I mean, watching a movie at home is way cheaper and less risky than having to travel all the way to your local theater and paying $20 to watch a movie. And though I absolutely believe it's a big part of the reason K-pop has been such a mega hit, that does not mean that theaters are obsolete or that people don't still like watching movies on big screens. Seriously, this dude is dumb. Sorry about that ranchy detour, it's just that needed to be addressed, and actually is very much in line with the discourse this movie will probably generate. Now, as far as my thoughts going into the movie, I had very subdued expectations. The trailer seemed solid, Missy Elliott's Lose Control was definitely a choice, and the concept was interesting, but I'd be lying if I said I was super excited. Though the art style was definitely an upgrade from Pixar's weird bean mouth trend, I still wasn't particularly impressed with it. And sadly, yeah, that continues to be a weak point for Pixar, which is weird because they used to be the leading example when it came to stylized and quality animation. Hoppers is very aesthetically pleasing, the backgrounds are especially gorgeous, and of course the character animation is on point, but there isn't anything particularly unique or memorable about it. If the story and concept is the #1 reason Pixar movies are doing as well, art style has to absolutely be second. It may even be first because it's the first thing that people see when forming their opinion about a piece of media. But while I would have wished for the style to be a little more detailed, it still has a simplistic charm to it. I mean, I think a big reason Tom the Lizard has gone viral is because of how simple his design is. It's really cute and easy to like. Also, Tom is an icon. It's weirdly been a good era for lizard characters. I also really like Mabel's design. Like, her design actually speaks to her personality and vibe, which I think is a very important aspect when it comes to realizing characters. I mean, just look at that crazy hair. It also turns out that Mabel is a well-written character. The movie follows her as she seeks to stop the mayor of Beaverton from building a highway and destroying the wildlife's home by employing hopper tech that allows a human mind to control an animal robot. The base of the plot does admittedly sound cliche. We've seen the nature versus humans thing like a lot, and it does follow that standard blueprint for at least the first act of the movie. Ergo, the section of the movie I was the least engaged with. Not that any of it was bad, it just felt very comfortably conventional, though Mabel was likable enough to keep me interested. She's quirky, believable, fleshed out, and nicely voiced by Piper Curda, and the movie refreshingly doesn't try to emphasize her being a weirdo or an outsider. Her relationship with her grandma was predictably affecting, and I very much mean predictable. Is it even a spoiler that she dies? Again, solid but very standard stuff. I think if you looked at an enjoyment graph of this movie, or my enjoyment graph, it would look like an upward slant. Each act of the movie gets progressively more interesting and more enjoyable because of it. The first act is mostly establishing Mabel, her arc and her quest if you will. The second act, where the actual hopping commences, we get some decent gags about forest life, pond rules, and the introduction of the main forest crew. King George being a key player, delightfully voiced by Bobby Moynihan. Obviously Daniel Chong likes using him. He brings a nice warmth and unexpected innocence to the movie, forming a genuine bond with Maple that I actually appreciated. No twist villain here. The rest of the characters are cute but kinda forgettable, except for Tom of course, we stan Tom, but I definitely could have used more of him. A lot of people were saying this was Pixar's funniest movie, and while I could see way more attempts at comedy here than in most of their other projects, I still didn't find it to be a knee slapper or anything. That is until the introduction of the Animal Council, and that's when the movie really starts to pick up, when it's revealed that the animal kings and queens want to off the mayor, which leads to a whole slew of crazy shenanigans that get more and more unhinged as the movie goes on. This is where the movie really shines because it really goes all the way with the bizarre and craziness, and I think that's the key to making a good or even memorable comedy. I got to rewatch Madagascar in theaters in January for its 20th anniversary re-release, and all I could think watching it was, wow, this movie really goes all the way with the zaniness and surrealism, and for a movie that maybe references other movies a little bit too much, it's impressive that it was still able to have so many of its own comedic iconic moments. And Hoppers really does play into that same concept. It's so ridiculous and over the top in such an unexpected way that you can't help but like it. Particularly the caterpillar turned butterfly villain played by Dave Franco, who gets a great opportunity to flex his comedic chops.
Seriously, Big D, if I fail out here, I gotta go to med school in the Caribbean. Dude, I don't speak Caribbean, so tell us what to do.
I won't reveal how the whole villain transformation goes down, but it's so unbelievably madcap and unexpected that I couldn't believe what I was watching half the time. It almost felt like I was watching a scrapped All Hail King Julian episode, but even this movie isn't that unhinged. So yeah, I applaud Pixar for finally committing to creating a crazy comedy, because not only has it been what a lot of their recent movies have been missing, but it absolutely pays off. In that case, I guess it's pretty similar to Transformers 1, where for the first 2 acts of the movie it's a pretty standard mainstream animated movie, but the third act is so epic and engaging that it totally ups the rating of the film. Side note, but I also think the plot of the movie is very comparable to The Wild Robot in some ways. I mean, Wild Robot is obviously better and more emotionally investing and possibly even funnier in some areas. Darker humor is usually a win, but it was interesting to see a more offbeat take on the robot in the wilderness concept. As far as flaws, it does have some of the shortcomings of animated movies released today. The pacing is a bit off, as mentioned before. The first act and even a bit of the second is a little slower than I would have liked. Goat had a similar issue. And some of the comedy in the earlier scenes are a bit hit or miss. Sorry, but animals loudly screaming isn't inherently funny. But maybe most of all, the characters just don't feel as complex and fleshed out as a lot of Pixar's earlier works. The mayor is a very amusing character played perfectly by Jon Hamm, but he struggles to be really dynamic when you pass up obvious opportunities to flesh him out. Like he lives with his elderly mom. That could have been a perfect sympathetic parallel to how Mabel was close to an elderly figure in her life. And as I've already mentioned, the forest animals are cute, if kind of one note. To be fair, they don't really need to be that complex, they just need to generate some laughs, which they do. So yeah, I guess I kinda see it. I unironically see why people think this is one of the best Pixar movies to come out in the last decade. Does it still retain some of the issues from modern Pixar? Sadly, yes. But it also brings so much freshness and madcap energy to the table that those shortcomings can easily be forgiven. Now here comes the really hard question. Which do I prefer, Goat or Hoppers? Hoppers is definitely more tightly written and in the end better paced, while Goat is easily more visually interesting to the point where even if nothing interesting is going on dialogue or story-wise, the characters and environments are always intriguing to look at. Also, Goat's action sequences easily clear. But both movies ultimately impressed me with how far they were willing to lean into their more ludicrous over-the-top aspects and makes, let's be honest, kinda conventional story beats feel fresh and even exciting. Goat has a little more style, Hoppers has a little more substance. I'm just glad to see 2 original animated movies are actually doing good at the box office. And now we got Mario coming up. Oh my gosh, please be better than the first movie. I mean, the first movie was good, but I mean, this could definitely be better. Yeah, I was actually gonna see an early screener for this movie, but wouldn't you know it, I was actually busy that day, but it's okay, better late than never to get this review out. I hope you all have been having an excellent, well, it's spring where I'm at. I live in Louisiana, so we get spring pretty quickly, but I hope you guys have been having a good season and a good year. Thank you all for tuning in as always, and I will see you all soon. Bye.